Hi everyone, it's Sabrina, and I am so excited to put together another week in the life day for 2020. I'm going to be working on Wednesday, and I'm just so happy that I'm putting together this week in the life and I'm chugging along, even if it's a little slower than I wanted. Or I was thinking, because I was hoping to have this finished before we start Week in the Life 2025, but I don't know if I will have it completed. But nonetheless, I am, like I said, chugging along. So I have this amazing photo of me holding my daughter, and I think what I had done is prop the camera on the counter, and so I was able to get a photo of me holding her, and I love it. I'm telling you, the Week in the Life photos are some of my all-time favorites. So, and I've heard other people say this, if the only project I really did all year was Week in the Life and December Daily, it might be okay, because most of my amazing photos that I absolutely love come from those projects. So for this particular day, I had gratitudes for today, my husband cooking, and then my kids, sitting with my kids on the couch. And then on the right-hand side, I have feelings about today. And I don't know if you can tell what that top picture is, but my son spilled all kinds of water on some papers, and so he had to spread out the papers and use a hairdryer to try to fix the situation. And then there's, of course, a selfie of me, because I had my Instagram stories, so I went back, and apparently that was kind of a rough day for me. I had said in my Instagram stories I was tired of being called mom, and I just needed a break, so I took myself outside in the backyard for a break. Moving into the next page, this is where I have the ing words, and I made a grid. I also took a journaling card that says we can do hard things, and I shrunk that down to 2x2, and I had Persnickety Prints print that as is. I also have off to the left the journaling card, The Stuff of Life. I know that I want to go with red and pink, and I think that's it. Red, pink, and I added in a little bit of yellow. There's not a lot of Ali Edwards yellow word phrase stickers. What I do have is really bright and like almost hurts your eyes. So I just went with more stamping in yellow. And I'm just going to do a little bit of clustering above the 2x2 we can do hard things. And I also need to find a spot for the stuff of life. I've been putting those journaling cards in spots where I know I'm not going to do an ing word, but I just haven't decided yet where I'm going to put it for this particular page. So one of the really cool things we did, and this sounds funny saying it now, but one of the cool things we did on this particular day was that we got to go drive somewhere, and we got to see some friends that we had not seen in a while. So I was able to fill in the driving box, and that was really exciting. And another thing that we tried out today was a constellation app. And sometimes when I spell words as I'm scrapbooking, I'm totally blank. And I guess I get nervous, maybe. I don't know. But I have to double check words. But I told myself I'm not going to check constellation. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But yeah, I even do that when I'm in the classroom too. A kid will ask me how to spell a word, and I'm like, that's how you spell the word. And then they're like, no. Like yesterday, it was classmates. I was said, it's one word. You need to make sure it's one word. And the student was like, no, it's two words. And I'm like, no, it's one word. But then I double checked on my phone. It's just like getting put on the stage, I guess. Anyways, I am filling in all the spots. I have eating, I have watching. So I think I'm going to wind up putting the stuff of life towards the bottom. And you just saw me lean in on a photo because I was trying to figure out what we were watching on the TV or one of the screens in a photo, but I couldn't figure it out. I was trying to jog my memory of what it was, but I couldn't. So I just went for watching. I just put videos for school and then a YouTube crayon tutorial. Down at the bottom for struggling, I put school papers and jotted down a note about my son spilling water all over some school papers. And I made him get out the hairdryer and try to dry them as best as he could. I also covered up one of the INGs with a word phrase sticker, and it says moment to moment. And this is where I kind of made a little note about saying that I do remember that this was a particularly hard day to kind of get through. And working, I put on myself because I did a porch workout. You can actually see it in the top left corner. I'm laying on the concrete. I think I grabbed a towel, but I had porch workouts during my kids' outside recess time. So good job on me. I think I mentioned that in my other videos too, but this is when I started to kind of work out and start to take care of myself, and know that taking care of myself and working out and moving my body is something I can control. Even when the world is upside down, that's something that I can do. So playing, I mentioned our red tent. We had a red tent in 2020, and it wasn't necessarily like a play tent. I think it was like a sunshade for the beach, but we wound up putting it on our front lawn, and I feel like I need to document this red tent in a special way, but it really helped us out during this time because we would just play in the tent. We'd take a break from the sun in this tent and just do all kinds of things with this tent as we were having a recess time. So when I was writing about, the playing, and I wrote that little quick note, that's when I thought to myself, I might need to, do something a little more special to talk about the red tent, because it really was important during this time. And you saw that I stamped a bunch of different flowers and florals using the flower from the Quiet Story Kit. Now I'm moving on to the page with the what I want to remember, and also a grid of 2x2 along with the red tent photo. You can see we had pillows in there. My daughter was sleeping in there. And I really wish I would have put on my Instagram stories, why was my daughter outside with a blanket and a broom? I have no idea. I don't know. It's 2020. We just go with it. But it is hilarious and priceless, and I'm so glad that I printed out that photo for what I want to remember. I took one of the leftover pieces from that 3x4 journaling card, the red one, and I put a clear sticker over the top of it, completely loving, and then put it at the bottom of my grid of photos, and then stamped some florals. And my red ink was so vibrant that I stamped it first and then stamped the leftover ink and tried to dry it as best as I could because it was pretty juicy. I also added some word phrase stickers to the photos, and then the red tent photo has stuff of life. I just added that clear sticker right over the top. Now, I have a sticker that says this and that, but it's this and that. And somehow it printed out this. I don't think that's right. So I had to switch it and make it make sense to me. I also had a bunch of ING words. I don't remember where I got them from, but I had put them on my clear sticker sheets. And I decided that I wanted to take 3 of them and kind of make a row of words in the negative space above where my kids are hanging out on the couch. So I picked watching, loving, and noticing. And I tried my best to make them straight, but if they didn't wind up straight, it's not the end of the world. And over on the right-hand side, I have an amazing picture of my daughter holding up her iPad using that Constellation app. I love that photo. I also printed a 3x4 card. It's not a card. It printed as a photo, but it was something I had made in Photoshop, and it says showing up in May. So I printed that through Persnickety. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that floral stamping all along the border of these 2 pieces. I added in another circle transparency that says document the now, and I'll also pair in some clear sticker florals as well. And so you can see I have this yellow ink right here. I think I went with scattered straw. It's not as bright as the showing up in May, but it works, and overall I'm really happy with the colors that I picked as far as red, pink, and yellow. Usually most of the days so far have 3 predominant colors that I work with, which is fine by me. 3 is probably the most that I would want to work with at one time. I also added a little like and symbol for this and that. The last page is kind of the evening, and I went with a really large photo of my husband and daughter scooping out ice cream together. I loved that. I went back over to this page and added in where did I get green? Yellow floral stamping just to balance it out, because I think I had forgot to do some yellow stamping on that particular page. Okay, so back to this page. Most of the time when I do these end pages, I want to add a circle transparency piece. No, not transparent. Well, you know what I mean. This piece right here. I started off with one on the beginning when I was holding my daughter. I think it says our story. And so this one at the end is just like a photo, and I love it. I also took a really large clear sticker that says May equals magic, and I put that over the bottom of the photo. And I had a smaller sticker that says things to remember right now, so I put that over in the corner with the photo of my husband and son. Now for these 4x6 cards, they're kind of tricky for me because, I don't even know what that word, retroactive, does that make sense? Allie Edwards uses some fancy word to talk about doing journaling from the past. But for me, it's a little tricky to figure out how I'm going to journal things that, happened a long time ago. So what I do is I use my Dropbox, and I open up Dropbox because Dropbox will tell me the original time and date that the photos were taken. So it really is so helpful. So what I do is I just make a running list on the 4x6 Wednesday card. And then I also fill in my timeline. In my other 2 videos, Tuesday and Monday, I was doing this card and then the timeline, but since I've already pulled up, the Dropbox, it's on my iPad off camera. I'm just kind of going back and forth the two, so I hope that's not too confusing to you. But I started off by saying we slept in since there's no normal wake up time. I'm editing photos as I go for this project, and my daughter was taking a reading test for school. She uses an iPad instead of, a Chromebook because she knows how to use an iPad. And then I'm just doing my best to help out my 2nd grader and my 5th grader. Our table has kind of become the hub of where we do schoolwork, and that's sometimes why we wind up eating out on the couch, just so we can get a change of scenery. So this card will just be a running list of all the different things that were going on during the day, and I think it works for the most part, just doing my best to fill in, the journaling. And to me, it's okay if some of it is repetitive as far as the timeline for the day. I feel like with the journaling card, it goes into a little bit more of an explanation. And over on the timeline, I use the different pens, the Tombow pen. I can't say the name of the Tombow pen, but that's what I use for my journaling in my actual journal. And I just love how the different pens just add a little something extra. I also use clear stickers to just add to the timeline. So when we were doing Zooms, I added in a sticker that says learning, and then I had that photo of me hugging my daughter, and that was right after I did dishes. So I decided to add in a clear sticker that had XO, and I just put in tackling dishes and afternoon hugs. Then over on the right-hand side, I am going to start off with the paper disaster, and I was happy that I had figured out a different name for, the school papers getting soaked. I still clearly remember that. There's pieces of 2020 that I still clearly remember, and I do remember that and how frustrating it was that, I had a middle schooler who was just not listening. Nobody was listening. I do remember how Wednesday was kind of a rough day for me because I had a 2020 journal from Persnickety Prints, and I documented this day in that journal. I'll link it up in the eye if it's on YouTube. I think it is because I was using Everyday Explorer stamps, and why I remember that, I don't know. But yes, this day was particularly hard, juggling everything. So I wound up with a full journaling card of all kinds of different things about the day, including at the end of the day, just savoring those hugs with my second and last baby, embracing the messy hair, my husband making tacos, serving ice cream, and trying out a star app, and then family photos at dinner time for the win. And now I'm going to wrap up the timeline, which like I said, I was trying to go back and forth between the two, but then it just wound up getting a little tricky. So I'm just going to go back in and fill in what I can for the timeline, and I also have to do the flip up for Wednesday. I forgot to print out the QR code that I can scan and see my Instagram stories, because I took all of my Instagram stories and compiled them into one video and uploaded it to my Dropbox, and then I'm able to make those QR codes. So that's really nice to have that in my album, as well as like almost another journal aspect. So over on the right hand side, like I said, I had paper disaster. I also put in playing for one of the ing words. I was happy to have learning and playing, since that went back to the photo of my kids on the couch, and I did the 3 ing words, so it feels like I'm tying all the pages together. Also added in the clear sticker florals. I love those. And then I have family dinner, the Constellation app, and evening snuggles. And then for some reason, as I was looking at my photos, I noticed that there is a huge gap in photos between when I had a photo of my husband and daughter and then when I went to bed. I don't know. Sometimes that happens with evening photos. You just don't document the evening as much. And so that's what happened. So I just put night owl, always going to bed late. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but for some reason, I feel like I have to put something in the hours that I'm like asleep or not awake. So I'm going to grab some red washi, and I'm going to add in washi tape to kind of block off or indicate that, nobody was awake during these times. One year I took a letter Z, and I think I got this idea from Morgan Beale, but I took a Z and I stamped it over and over and over again in those time areas. So, there's options, or you could just leave it alone. But for me, I have a hard time just leaving it alone. So I wind up using washi tape, and I'm actually going to use a clear sticker down in the bottom right-hand corner. It's going to say, I want to remember what life looks like right now, which I absolutely love that sticker. And I thought about it, and I was like, well, why would I want to put it in the corner? It might not work, but I stopped thinking about it and hemming and hawing and just put it down there because I love that sticker. It's so perfect and so true for Week in the Life, and just being able to see each of these pieces that make up our life. So I'm almost done with the timeline, and now I'm going to go back and work on the card, the 4x6 flip up card, where I stamp the day, a sentiment, and add in the QR code. I'm also going to do a ton of stamping with the florals and just make it look really pretty for the QR code section. So above the Wednesday, I put Life Goes On, and then stamp Wednesday. I will also stamp around here. Then I have a 2x2 like scrap piece of paper that I set, so that way I knew where I was going to put the QR code, and I just start stamping all the florals. And it might have been too many florals, but that's okay. I just had a lot of fun. And of course, you can see that there is a photo of my daughter and I at dinner. I'm sure I passed the phone to my husband or my son and had one of them take a photo of us, because I love to do that. At the dinner table during Week in the Life, I will pass somebody the phone and be like, take a picture. Or because everybody's sitting down eating, I will prop up the phone somewhere and, set a timer and be like, let's look at the camera. It drives them bonkers. But I have already started telling my people, and, as of a few days ago, Week in the Life is coming. Week in the Life is coming. Because my kids are getting older now, and so having the camera in their face or taking more pictures than they deem necessary, which is more than one, it can be very annoying. So I'm just trying to remind them that I need pictures. I would like to document our lives, and I'll just remember, of course, that I am the main character, but I want them to be aware, and I won't invade their space, if that makes sense. So, Week in the Life is coming 2025. Very excited. I'd love to know in the comment section if you guys are doing this project, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing my Wednesday come together. I absolutely love this project, and I love putting this together. I hope you've enjoyed. This is what Wednesday looks like. It looks amazing. I love it. There's so many wonderful stories and photos documented, and I love it. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. All right, have a great day. Bye.